there, happy shiny puppy. Happy Sunday to you. It's probably, well, Sunday where I'm posting from. It might already be much later for you there. Apologies for that. I do tend to post at night. I'm aware of that. I'm also shooting at night right now. As you can see, my house is sort of dirty. It's dirty. It's not dirty. It's just dark. It's not dirty. Might be some subliminal guilt in there. Do I need to clean my house? Anyway, it's kind of dark, so I've got a spotlight on me here to help me shoot at night because I don't always have the time to get these videos done during the day. It is challenging to do 30 days, but I am fitting it in how I can. So please keep up with me and forgive me for posting them really, really late in the day sometimes because I can't get them done any other time. Anyway, so today I want to answer a question. I'm going to smoosh some questions together. It is basically the same question that I've been getting for a while and that somebody sent me just recently. And the question is, can you be an atheist and be into LOA? And of course, to expand on that question, I'm going to bring in one that's been asked, several times. Can you be religious and be into LOA? Can you be Christian? Can you be Muslim? Can you be Jewish? Can you be Buddhist? Can you be whatever? And is this going to be something that contradicts my religious or spiritual beliefs? And let's consider atheism a type of spiritual belief because it's a philosophy, it's a belief, it's a belief system. And so to me, it can all be lumped together. Can I have this belief system about spirituality or lack thereof and still be into the law of attraction and all of this work? And I say yes, absolutely, as long as you aren't sort of on the fundamental spectrum of that religion. I'm not going to blame all of Christianity or Islam for people who are on the fundamental spectrum, So people that, for example, choose to use their religion as an excuse not to believe in science, yeah, they're probably not going to do so well with this stuff because this is all about opening your mind and asking questions. And when you're on the fundamental end of the spectrum, and I seriously doubt anybody in that group is watching this video right now, but if you were to be in that spectrum, the whole deal about that is to not question and to believe blindly. And so then it would be incompatible. But as long as you have the ability to be open-minded, it's not going to contradict anything that is at the core of your religion. And you get to find your own way. And that's, a big part of what I teach is you get to find your own way, which means that if you were to have some kind of a conflict, you could then explore between something that I say and something that you believe and that feels good to you. You could then explore and find, let it help you define your belief even further, what feels right for you. You're here to find your truth, not my truth, and not the truth, your truth. And again, I understand that there's going to be some belief systems that are represented by certain religious groups, not the whole religion, that are going to say that's contradictory to what we believe. You don't get to figure it out yourself. You have to do exactly what I believe. But that doesn't come down to the fundamental core of the religion for me. That comes down to certain churches or certain pastors or certain, individuals that are deciding to see it that way. And atheism for me is just the same. So to me, this is a technology. And so if you can be open to a technology or science, then you can, if your religion or atheism doesn't preclude you from that, then it's not going to preclude you from this, because you can get as woo-woo about this as you want. You know me, I don't tend to be all that woo-woo. And even when I go down the rabbit hole, I do my best to explain it in a really intellectual way, which is why I have a really intellectual audience, and some of them are spiritual and some of them are atheists and some of them are even religious. Gasp, 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 so let's, I didn't get a specific question, but let's look at just like one example of something that a person who is an atheist might have an issue with. And so, a lot of atheists don't believe that there's any kind of life after death, because there's nothing. This is, just what we have. And there's different atheists. There's different atheist beliefs as well. They're not all the same, just as there's different Christians and different Jews and different Muslims. But generally speaking, they don't believe that there's any kind of life after death. And so when we talk about, who we really are and our higher beings and all of these kinds of things, it can seem to be a contradiction. But if you allow yourself for just a moment to consider the idea that there is no death, and that we're not talking about some little, white beard dude in the sky or heaven, that there are different states, energy states, and that energy is never destroyed. Go talk to physicists. They will tell you this. Energy is never destroyed. That our energy is also not destroyed when we die. It goes on in some other form. And so then it becomes easier to sort of open your mind to the idea of, well, if it goes on to some other form, perhaps consciousness does too. Perhaps consciousness is not just some kind of a mistake, a coincidence that happens, and then dies when our body dies, but that is an energy, and that energy morphs and changes and is not destroyed. And really, what's more likely, that this is all some cosmic mistake, or that there's simply more going on than our science has the ability to fully comprehend at this moment, but that it is getting closer and closer to? And that just because we don't fully yet understand it, doesn't mean that it isn't so. And that has nothing to do with a belief in God, particularly a God that you may have grown up with that is, anthropomorphized, and it's like one male figure that judges and, has figured all this out. It's like he's the puppet master, that kind of thing. This is all, an archaic version of God that really is kind of on its way out, as far as I'm concerned. So, you can be an atheist. For me, I was an atheist for a while. It didn't stick. But I, explored it, so I do know a little bit about it. But what I came to, because I grew up Catholic, so I'm a recovering Catholic, and I've done a blog post about that. I've done a couple about that. But, I came to the conclusion that there is a type of God. It's just not the God that I was ever taught about. I see God in everything. I see God in nature. I see God in beauty. I see God in a child's laugh. I see God in every person, and there is a divinity to that for me, and there doesn't have to be for you. This is me. It doesn't have to be for you, but you don't have to. There's not only ever one way to look at it. So you can say, okay, I don't believe that there's a heaven or a hell or a judgment, but maybe there's more going on here than I realize. And there's really no way to know. That's one thing that we can all agree on. There's really no way to know. I could be, I'm sitting here, I'm like, well, I kind of know that something's going on because I can talk to the dead, and I know that they're not really dead. And then it could just be crazy. That's totally possible. I mean, I don't think I'll make tomorrow's video about that. I'm going to talk about that. The whole idea that we could all just be crazy and delusional. So you find your way in that, but there's always a middle ground where you can find your own truth, sort of between the lines, and accept what I say that resonates with you and dismiss what I say that doesn't resonate with you. But of course there's a way to be into LOA and be an atheist. Lots of people are. But you have to not be dogmatic about any of your beliefs. That's really part of it. You can't be dogmatic. You have to be willing to open up your mind to different possibilities that you haven't yet discovered. There. I think I've said all I'm going to say on that. All right, my darling. Then I will see you tomorrow For me, Monday. For you, possibly Tuesday. And in the meantime, thank you for bringing your light to the world. Bye.